You know that feeling when you just know someone's watching you, even when you can't see them? That strange chill that runs down your neck when you're alone, but it feels like eyes are on you? That's exactly how it started for me. At first, I thought it was just stress. Maybe I was working too much. Maybe my imagination was running wild. But deep down, something inside me knew someone was watching, and soon, I'd find out I was right. I live in a quiet little neighborhood, white fences, trimmed lawns, and friendly hellos from people walking their dogs. For years, it was peaceful. My dachshunds loved running along the fence, barking at birds and squirrels. Life was simple, normal, until the new neighbors moved in. They were a Vietnamese family, a young mother, her baby, and the grandmother who mostly stayed in the garage. At first, they seemed quiet and polite. The mom would smile and wave, but the grandmother, she always had this look, cold, curious, like she was studying everything, me, my dogs, my yard. Still, I told myself not to judge. Everyone has quirks, right? It started small. My dogs began barking late at night every single night. I'd rush outside with a flashlight, thinking maybe a raccoon or stray cat was there. But nothing. Just my dogs, standing near the fence, staring like they could see something I couldn't. Then, one night, I heard it. A faint, high-pitched whistle so sharp it almost hurt my ears. It lasted just a second, but right after that, my dogs went crazy. I brushed it off. Maybe it was a random sound, maybe something electronic, but it happened again and again. Always the same sound, always right before the barking started. Soon, the other neighborhood dogs started reacting too. I'd hear them barking in a chain reaction, one after another, like some invisible signal had gone off. Something wasn't right. A few days later, my friendly neighbor from across the street knocked on my door. She looked uneasy. She said, "Hey, I don't want to start anything, but I saw your neighbor's grandmother peeking through your fence this morning." I froze. Peeking through? What do you mean? She was crouched near the fence, staring through one of the slats. I yelled at her, and she ran off, said she was just gardening. Gardening? Through my fence? That didn't sound right. For the rest of the day, I couldn't focus. My mind kept going back to that word, peeking. Something about it made my skin crawl. That night, I sat in my living room and stared at the fence outside my window. Everything looked normal, but I couldn't shake the feeling. The next morning, I decided to check for myself. I grabbed my flashlight, went outside, and slowly walked along the fence line. At first, nothing. Then, a small, perfectly round hole. I leaned closer. It wasn't from wear and tear. It was drilled. Then I found another, and another. Dozens of them drilled at different angles. Some low near the ground, others right at eye level. Some even lined up perfectly toward my living room window. My heart pounded. It wasn't just one random hole. This was intentional. Someone had been spying on me. I remember shining my flashlight through one of the holes and my beam hit something shiny. On the other side, metal, a tool, a pair of eyes. I couldn't tell. But whatever it was, it moved. That was enough for me. Later that day, I knocked on their door. The daughter opened it, holding her baby. "Hey," I started, trying to keep calm. "I need to ask about the holes in the fence. There are dozens of them drilled through. Someone's been spying, and I have every reason to believe it's from your side." She blinked, pretending to look confused. Then she gave this nervous laugh. "Oh, that. My mom did that back in Vietnam. She's just curious about neighbors. She doesn't mean anything by it." Curious? I stared at her in disbelief. "You're telling me your mother drilled holes into someone's fence because she was curious?" Her smile faded. She held her baby tighter. "You're scaring me," she said softly. "If you have a problem, maybe you should just call the police." And then she shut the door in my face. I stood there, stunned. Did she really just make me the bad guy? That night, I sat on my porch, furious. Every time the wind blew through those holes, I could almost feel eyes behind them, watching, waiting, laughing. I decided I wasn't crazy. I was going to prove it. So one night, around midnight, I turned off every light inside my house. I went outside, sat quietly on the patio with my dogs beside me. No flashlight, no noise, just waiting. Minutes passed, then an hour, and then there it was. That same high-pitched whistle died so faint you'd almost miss it, but I knew that sound by heart now. The dogs jumped up instantly, barking their lungs out, scratching at the fence. I froze. It was coming from the direction of the neighbor's garage, the same place where the grandmother stayed, through the fence. I thought I saw a movement of shadow bending low, and I swear, for just a second, something glinted in the moonlight. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. I whispered to myself, "There it is. It's real." The next morning, I patched up some of the holes with duct tape and cardboard. It looked awful, but I didn't care. All I knew was someone next door was tormenting my dogs, spying through my fence, and pretending they didn't know a thing. But that night, when I tried to sleep, I couldn't. The image of those holes, that faint whistle, that shadow behind the fence, it all kept replaying in my mind. And then it hit me. If I wanted peace, I'd have to fight for it. Because this wasn't just about barking dogs anymore. This was about control. And what they didn't know was that karma had already started drilling back. Sometimes the scariest part of living next to someone isn't what they say. It's what they pretend not to see. After patching every hole I could find, I thought the nightmare might finally end. But the next few nights proved otherwise. My dogs, once playful and calm, started trembling before they barked. They'd freeze, eyes fixed on the fence, tails down. Then that same faint whistle. It wasn't imagination. It was deliberate. I grabbed a flashlight, waited in the dark by my patio, and listened. There it was again, 3 short bursts. My heart pounded as I crept toward the fence. Suddenly, a small reflection caught my light, through one of the freshly patched holes. A single human eye blinked back at me. I dropped the flashlight in shock. The person behind the fence scurried away, whispering something in Vietnamese. I couldn't see who it was, but I already knew it was the grandmother. The next morning, I decided to set up an old security camera pointed directly at the fence. I didn't want confrontation anymore. I wanted proof. By evening, I reviewed the first recording, and sure enough, there she was, bent over, tapping the fence with something metallic. Then she placed a small silver whistle against the wood and blew short, sharp bursts. My dogs went wild instantly. It was calculated, cruel, and almost unbelievable. The next day, I took a deep breath and walked to their front door. The daughter opened it, holding her baby. Her expression was polite, but cold, like she already knew why I was there. "Your mother is harassing me and my dogs," I said. "I have it on video." She didn't flinch, just adjusted her baby's blanket and replied softly, "You're mistaken. My mother barely goes outside." I showed her the footage on my phone. For a second, her eyes widened, but then she forced a smile. "That's not her. Maybe someone else." The denial hit harder than the act itself. That calm, practiced tone, the kind that makes you feel crazy for telling the truth. That night, I called the local authorities. The officer listened, saw the video, and promised to talk to them. But all I got was a shrug and a half-hearted warning. "Keep documenting things, ma'am. If it continues, we'll escalate." Nothing changed. Days later, I noticed new holes, fresh wood dust beneath the fence. I patched one, and the next morning, another appeared to feed over. They were taunting me, daring me to react. And the whistle had started coming at different hours now. Sometimes at dawn, sometimes at 2 a.m., always followed by laughter from behind the fence. I tried soundproofing, white noise machines, even walking my dog late at night to calm them. But nothing worked. The constant stress made me feel trapped in my own home. Then one night, something inside me snapped. I turned off all the lights, sat quietly by the living room window, and waited. Around midnight, I saw a flicker of light, a reflection, like a phone screen through one of the holes. They weren't just whistling now. They were watching. I stepped outside, heart pounding, phone recording in hand. "I see you." I shouted toward the fence. Silence, then the faint shuffle of feet. A door slammed next door. The next morning, The daughter texted my mom again claiming I was unstable and screaming threats. The manipulation was unreal. They were flipping the story, painting me as the aggressor. But I didn't back down. I showed my supportive neighbor the footage, the whistle, the holes. She agreed to help document everything. Together, we started recording from both yards. And finally, one evening, our cameras caught it clear as Dave, the grandmother, leaning over the fence with a small metal tool, pressing it against the wood, drilling. We turned the video over to the police again. This time, they couldn't ignore it. The family was issued a warning for harassment and property damage. For a brief moment, peace returned. The holes stopped appearing. The whistles vanished. My dog slept quietly again. But the eerie feeling lingered, that kind of unease that doesn't fade when the noise stops. Because I knew the intent behind those acts wasn't boredom. It was control. The grandmother still sometimes stands by the fence, pretending to sweep leaves, staring just long enough to make sure I notice. The daughter smiles politely whenever we cross paths, as if we're just ordinary neighbors sharing a nice sunny day. And every time I pass that patched up fence, I feel a strange chill. Because the truth is, evil doesn't always come kicking down your door. Sometimes it drills holes quietly, watches through the cracks, and smiles when you start to break. So, what would you do if someone tried to invade your peace like that? Would you fight back or move away and start fresh? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want more real-life stories where bad neighbors get what they deserve, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you don't miss the next story of karma striking back, because sometimes karma sees through fences too.